Something I like to note here at the beginning is that the creator has opted to put Bloodborne, Dark Souls, and Sekiro in the description here, including Souls-like. I'm not sure exactly what that's going to entail in the final game, but might as well give it a shot. Hello everyone, and welcome to another showcase. This time we have Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, Bloody Souls, with an admittedly cool title screen. When the creator is willing to put this much effort into the title screen, it's usually a good sign. Now, I have needed to silence the in-game audio in this clip here because it is the opening of the show, and the last time I did something like that, it got copyright claimed, and I just don't want to deal with that this time. So let's kick off the video with Tanjiro here, and we open up with our protagonist. And he has the box with his sister on his back. And if I press left on the D-pad, we'll see that there are actually a few outfits here, including Final Selection robe. But for now, I'm going to switch back to Tanjiro with the box. Now, let's start off here with my biggest criticism, and the thing that initially put me off showcasing this on my channel, and that is the running animations, or rather, lack thereof. The characters mainly just look like they're skating. I mean, the movements are fine, but it really doesn't look natural. Such is not the case with the water-breathing forms. And this is going to be your main method of attack in the game. You can use basic attacks by just mashing the R1 button, and that brings me to my biggest positive with the game, and that is how combat works in relation to how it was adapted from the show. You hold down one of the triggers and it charges up your breath meter, and from there you can use the various water-breathing forms that Tanjiro has access to in the show. I'm going to demonstrate on here and also the lock-on feature with the boulder. Lock onto an enemy and you'll be focused on them in terms of your direction. Alright, Whirlpool, Drop Purple Thrust, Waterfall Basin, and Turbulent. That's going to take a bit of charge-up time. Some of your water-breathing forms will take a significant amount of charge-up time, and some of them will just lock you in place, and you do need to be careful how you use them in order to avoid getting hit. Now, Turbulent will actually just power up your basic attacks for you to do a lot more damage, like a lot more. It's kind of overpowered, and I'm going to get into that later. And here I'm going to show Constant Flux, and that'll move you around like crazy, which is why it's really important to maintain lock-on with an enemy. I'm just going to cut through here, and I'm just going to keep going here until the boulder's down. Okay, when you deal enough damage to the boulder, it will in fact be split, just like in the show. Alright, I'm going to go back to the hub here, and I'm going to move on to the first level. Apparently the next level is going to be the Drum House from, I think, the middle of the season, but for now, let's go with Final Selection. Now here we have a couple of enemies coming on right off the bat. Lock onto him. Come on, and Blessed Rain. Now, when you execute a form, it'll usually have a rigid structure in terms of the directions you move in, unless it's Constant Flux for that matter. But the moment you've executed the attack, you'll reorient yourself if you're locked onto the enemy. And just like you saw there, when you kill an enemy, their heads will come off. Now I'm going to switch to the Final Selection robe because that's what Tanjiro is supposed to have at this point in the story. Here we have another demon. Just going to charge up and... Nope. Water wheel's a bit difficult to use. Alright, come on. Almost. Come on. Now, the animations don't look nearly as bad when you're locked onto an enemy. And I finish him off with a Whirlpool. Now, here's what I think the creator meant when he put Souls-like in the title. You see, you'd think here that the next logical place to go for Final Selection is up those stairs, but no. The next way that you're supposed to go to progress the level is actually in that hole there, but there is actually something I do want to get that's up here through this segment. Now, trying to go here thinking it's the next path to go in the level is a total red herring, but I do actually want to go up here to show you guys what's on the other end of those tree branches. I'm just gonna speed through it here. Okay, here we are. Extra healing ointment. Now I've got 6 for going into the following levels. And that actually is a variable, so it will carry into the following levels that you go through. Back at the hole, and Geronimo. Now here's what brings me to another criticism, and that is there's an enemy down beneath here, and you'll notice that lock-on actually activated there for a second. But you can just deactivate it by pressing R3, so it's not too much of a problem. But if you came in here without knowing that, it could disorient you a bit. And here you need to be really careful in how you're jumping down to the lower level. Because if you jump too far, you will die, and you'll be put back at the beginning with all the enemies having respawned. And... alright. And for some reason, the demon that's usually here to attack me is not here. I have no idea why that is, and that could very well be a glitch, but it's not going to impede me. Alright, here we have the mini-boss, the Blade Demon. Now it's especially important to maintain lock-on when in boss fights. Also keep your distance until you're ready to strike. Moving here with constant flux. Yeah, I know that's not what he used in the anime, but whatever. Blessed Rain, and... alright, managed to hit him. Keep charging up. Waterfall Basin. Whoops. Lost lock on there for a second. Alright, I'm just going to use Turbulent. Something you'll notice here, and this is a point I would very much like to make, is that Turbulent is kind of overpowered in terms of how much damage it'll do. It even tears apart the main boss pretty quickly. And I'll just have to get to that later. Oop. I took some damage there. Come on. Blessed Rain! Oop. Too close. Too close. Heal again. Alright. Enemies jumping is going to be very annoying whenever you land an attack, because the animation will not finish executing and you won't be able to do anything about it until it's done executing. Alright, almost. Alright, I'm going to try and... ugh, come on. Water Wheel's still difficult to use, so I'm just going to use Blessed Rain. And bam! That's it. Next segment. I'm just going to switch back to Final Selection Garb here. Alright, let's give it a shot. Come on, come on, come on. What the... Alright. Back at the beginning here. Arrows are largely not a threat to you, and you'll see I did take some damage there. But it's largely not a problem. You can literally just run through it, and it won't kill you. Ugh. Do not know how much damage the spikes are going to do, and I do not want to find out. In this segment, you need to know left side, right side together, and they'll part for 1 second. And bam. Run through and jump. That's the best method I've discovered here. Wait until they both come together and run and jump. Alright, the axes. My least favorite part of this segment is to have to run and hope you don't accidentally run into a spot where you can get hit, get launched into the air, and maybe fall in a hole. Oh, and you'll want to jump a lot during this segment here, lest you get hit with a bear trap like I did. And also giant spikes. Almost there. Boss fights at the other side of that doorway. Almost. Maybe you should be able to sniff out the traps. Alright, here we have the boss. The Morphed Hand Demon. Back to Final Selection Garb. And that's another criticism that I have, is that unlike the healing items that you have, the clothing that you're wearing doesn't actually match in between levels. You gotta switch if you want to keep it on. Now in this fight, Blessed Rain is usually pretty good because it'll clip you right behind him, and also Constant Flux is usually reasonable to go with, but sometimes, and this goes for a number of other forms you can use in this fight, that sometimes it'll wedge you into a corner up between the tree and the demon, and you won't be able to get out of it. In this fight, you especially want to keep your distance most of the time, and he does have attacks that can hit you from a distance. For those of you who remember from the show, remember him shooting his hands out to grab his enemies? Like that. In this game, though, it will do a lot of damage. You'll see I've lost more than half my health, so I'm going to heal there, and I'm going to use Turbulent. And I'm going to hack apart most of his health bar in a few seconds. Ugh, wow, that was a lot of damage. On myself as well. I'm gonna heal again. Oop. Yeah, even if you keep your distance, he can still hurt you, but he does have more attacks when you get up close. So keep moving, keep your distance, and do your best not to get hit. Alright, Striking Tide is actually better than I remember it being last time I tried this. Alright. Constant Flux. Alright, almost. Just gonna heal again so I don't die. Alright. Whoop, whoop. I did not mean to use Turbulent again there, but it doesn't matter much. Ah, there we go. That's it for the final boss. Just gonna heal again, not that it matters, and wait for Turbulent to go away. And back to the base. Now I want to take a moment here to focus on Zenitsu for a sec. Because he has his own set of breathing forms, but he only has two. Thunderclap and Flash, for one, and Thunderclap and Flash sixfold, which is literally just the first one, but you get to do it 6 times. And also you gotta reorient yourself if you want to hit the same enemy. However, if you're locked onto an enemy, you'll do that automatically. I'm just gonna do this here, and bam! Lock-on will reorient you as soon as the animation's finished executing. Just reposition and fire again. Bam! And off goes your head. I'll just wait for that to finish. And here we go again. I'm just going to finish this in short order. 1, 2. Alright, there we go. Zenitsu doesn't have nearly as many attacks as Tanjiro, but the thunder breathing forms that he does have are more than enough for you to finish off the enemies in this game. Okay, final thoughts. Positives. I really like how the breathing forms were translated for the game, with them being powerful attacks that are charged up. I think that principle works really well in terms of gameplay mechanics. Zenitsu is still playable even with only a few attacks in comparison to Tanjiro. I also like how the character designs were adapted. It is a bit weird how the robes appear solid, but for the most part that isn't a problem. The demons also look cool, and they look just like the anime, especially the morphed demon. In terms of negatives, the main issue is the running animations for the demon slayers, or rather, lack thereof. It makes them look like they're skating around instead of running. When I first played this game, it looked really unpolished, and it actually put me off playing this game for the channel before the first level was released. Really, the speed of running animations just needs to be sped up. That, and just the general lack of polish I'm getting from the rest of the game. The physics, especially with the Demon Slayers, may need some serious tweaking. You can get wedged between a boss and an object, and the camera will go crazy and you can't tell where you're going or how to get out from where you are. And sometimes you can get flung around from seemingly barely getting hit. Also, the appearance of your character not transferring between scenes, and some attacks like the Thunderclap and Flash sixfold, and Turbulent doing as much damage as they do, is not at all what I would expect from a Souls-like game, and frankly I think they're really overpowered in comparison to other attacks, like Drop Ripple Thrust, which is next to useless if you can't aim it properly, and even if you can, it doesn't do nearly as much damage as a bunch of other attacks. Overall, though, I'm happy with what I see here. The game feels like an accurate portrayal of the anime and video game format, and it's a lot of fun to play. I'd love to have segments where you play as Inosuke or Nezuko, I mean, if that's possible. Now all we need is a game based off My Hero Academia. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the Dreamiverse.